Last week's viewing was consistently good. This week's viewing has been consistently iffy. Now, that can be because the stuff that I watched was actually not all that good. Or it could be a side effect of the COVID 19 vaccine that I got last Monday. I'm kidding. Disliking movies and shows isn't a side effect of the COVID 19 vaccine. Please get vaccinated, mask up, and only move out and socialize if it is necessary. नहीं तो एकदम नहीं. ओके लिस्ट लंबा है सो लेट्स गेट स्टार्टेड बट शुरुआत करने के पहले अ फ्यू डिस्क्लेमर्स. वन, sit through the credits. Please don't mistake the opening title sequence with the act of sitting through the credits just because they have the names of some of the cast and crew in it. Credits हमेशा end में आते हैं, so watch it. If you like their work, tag them on social media and thank them for their contribution. 2. A spoiler alert is in effect. Because I figured that some of the films and shows that I talk about here in these videos might just be the first time that someone is learning about them. And I don't want to spoil anything for anybody. So if you see a name in here that you want to watch without knowing anything about it, feel free to skip it. How will you skip it? Well, that brings me to point number 3. Timestamps. In the description box, there are timestamps for every single review. So, if there's something specific you want to watch or don't want to watch, completely up to you, just click on them and they will take you where you need to go. And lastly, but most importantly, like and share this video, subscribe to the channel, and comments में बताओ what did you think about the movies and shows I have talked about here. Recommend something that you have watched that maybe I haven't. Or if you want to talk about something that's not related to entertainment in any way, लिख डालो. I am here to listen to it. Also, please remember that this list is not a ranking and just talking about them in the order that I watch them. Okay? चलो अब कार्यक्रम शुरू करते हैं. 14 फेरे streaming on Z5. Recently I have watched movies like Sarpata Parambarai, Karnan and Asuran that have dealt with the conflict between those who consider themselves upper caste and those who are deemed as lower caste. And you will notice that a significant chunk of Kannada, Malayalam, Tamil, and Telugu movies analyze casteism through that divide. Whereas Bollywood knows only one version of casteism, the division between two upper castes. Have you noticed that? 9 out of 10 times यही होता है. And the one time they don't, it probably gets shut down before the cameras even roll. Because this way they can show both castes in a positive light and give them some kind of redemption arc. कास्टिज्म डिनाउंस नहीं करेंगे एंड 14 फेरे तो गोज अ स्टेप फर्दर बाय डीलिंग विद कास्टिज्म थ्रू कॉमेडी. मतलब उनके हिसाब से कास्टिज्म हैज बीन सो अबनॉर्मलाइज्ड इन आवर सोसाइटी कि अब उस पर हंसी मजाक भी कर सकते हैं. ओह सॉरी, हंसी मजाक तो बहुत पुराना टर्म हो गया. आजकल क्या चल रहा है? हाँ, सैटायर. सैटायर भाई साहब, आप पहले जो सबसे रैम्पेंट फॉर्म ऑफ कास्टिज्म है उसे कम से कम एड्रेस तो कीजिए. वही नहीं हो रहा है, बड़का सैटराइज करने चले हैं. इसके बाद अब मूवी के क्वालिटी के बारे में क्या बताएं. आई वॉच्ड इट टिल द एंड जस्ट फॉर विक्रांत मासे, नहीं तो पहले 10 मिनट्स में बंद कर देता. फील्स लाइक इश्क स्ट्रीमिंग ऑन नेटफ्लिक्स. आजकल इन्हें एंथोलॉजी बोलते हैं बट दे आर प्रेजेंटेड लाइक एपिसोड्स, सो आई डोंट नो व्हाट टू कॉल देम एग्जैक्टली. जो आपको सही लगता है वो कंसीडर कर लीजिए. द फर्स्ट वन इन इट इज सेव द डेट. I liked how it pitted two vastly different ideologies and forced them to essentially save a marriage and a friendship. You don't have to be an influencer using anything for views to see how obsessed the past couple of generations have become regarding marriage. And they will refuse to see how they are promoting traditionalism for the sake of candid photographs and videos. Also, you don't have to be a non-believer in marriage to see the hypocrisy of people who are promoting the same kind of traditionalism but won't admit it because they believe that they are doing it for the money. You just have to be humane and you need to stop lying to yourselves. And I think that all this is explored pretty well and aided by Radhika Madan and Amol Parashar's performance. Yeah, I really liked it. The second one is Quarantine Crush. It is visually stunning. There are some great shots with the reflective sunglasses and the projector and all. It features a great song. And just when I was thinking that one of the characters was getting a little voyeuristic, the shot calls it out as well. However, it doesn't sit with this voyeurism angle and even goes to the extent of brushing it under the rug for a gag. Quite a literal one. So initially I felt like, oh, it's a cute story. But then, as I sat with it, I felt disturbed because at the end, the shot essentially said that yes, stalking is fine if it's being done by a cute guy who you know for a few days. And it said so through the perspective of a teenager. What the hell? I don't know, man. I didn't like it. The third one was Star Host. Yeah, the two things that I liked about it were the acting and that shot of a sunrise. That's it. Apart from that, everything was so contrived and predictable in the worst ways possible. The fourth one was She Loves Me Not. Yeah, this is clearly my favorite, not just because I want to see more queer romances, but also because it is so amazingly done. It has a simple enough story about finding love in this world which is struggling to understand whether they should approach romance in a modern or old school way, and it is peppered with humane topics such as identity, self doubt, anxiety, and acceptance. It shows that love is not just about finding each other attractive or funny or sexy. It is also about empathizing with each other's weaknesses and helping you tackle it without being condescending. In addition to that, the shot is visually interesting with its editing, camera work, art direction, production design, and costume design that come together to really emphasize the colors of the bisexual flag. I loved it. The fifth one is Interview. In the past few years, I have been to around 20 to 30 interviews for various jobs because I'm not as talented as you all are, and I have not seen anything remotely similar to this happen before my eyes. Not even one. I assume 20 to 30 interviews spread across the state of West Bengal and Assam covers a lot of ground in order to make the judgment about the unrealistic nature of this premise. But again, that's just me speaking from my personal experience. Apart from that, nothing about the premise hooked me. A girl seeking redemption at an interview seemed like the most contrived thing ever. From a technical perspective, the lack of ambient sound really bothered me and fueled my doubts that some or all of the people involved in the making of this shot hadn't been to an interview. The sixth one is Ishq Mastana. Where should I begin with this piece of utter garbage? At a time when one of the biggest protests, the farmers' protest, has been going on for over an year, and many such protests have happened all throughout the past few years, the makers of this shot had the audacity to romanticize it. Really? They had the audacity to misrepresent the people who have the balls to take time out of their already stressful and busy lives and go to the streets to fight for the rights of those who don't have the strength to speak up by showing that protests are just a place for people to hook up. And on top of that, they had the audacity to dress them like they're going for a United Colors of Benetton ad shoot. I mean, what the hell? How are you different from Sudhir Chaudhary or Arnab Goswami or any one of those asshats who go on national TV to misrepresent dissenters? How? Pray tell me. I'm all ears. If you don't have an answer, think 10 times before making shit like this. Happy Birthday Mummy Ji, available on large short films on YouTube. Look, I'll watch anything with Shefali Shah in it. She is one of my favorite actors of all time. And that's exactly why I feel that this short film, directed by her by the way, about a homemaker finding a few moments of freedom and peace due to the COVID-19 lockdown, could have been a little longer. You know, just to emphasize how much she's enjoying this forced separation from her family. It has some subtle and not so subtle moments to express that, like the unhooking of a bra, the mother-in-law saying that whether she has eaten the tinde while the camera hovers over the fancy biscuits and cakes, and the final shot in the bathtub, which I don't want to spoil for those who haven't watched it. I read somewhere that, like almost every other movie or show about the pandemic and the lockdown, Happy Birthday Mummy Ji focuses on the privileged class, and that it's a luxury to have this Alishan bungalow to chill while the country's burning. And yes, I agree with that criticism. I think that barring a few movies, documentaries, and shows, this pandemic has been viewed through the eyes of the upper class only. Hangama 2, streaming on Disney Plus Hotstar. Where should I start with this? I really don't know. Okay, I'll start on a hopeful note. Here it is, okay? I hope that everyone who worked on this movie got paid, because if it was so torturous to watch the movie, I can't even begin to imagine what it must have been like to make it. End of first hopeful note. Okay, here's another hopeful note. If you watch Hangama 2 in its entirety, I think you will feel that you can make a movie too. Because if someone in the Hindi entertainment industry can greenlight this, they will certainly greenlight your movie or show or short film too. And I mean that in the most respectful way possible. I know for a fact that there are so many talented people out there who are just limited by the self doubt. तो वो सेल्फ डाउट दूर करने के लिए बस एक बार हंगामा 2 देख लो, मस्त मोटिवेशन आएगा, बता रहा हूं. Okay, end of second hopeful note. Now I shall begin with some random notes I made while watching this movie. Please bear with them because I couldn't find a way to arrange them coherently. Johnny Lever talks in a very bad Bengali accent and it is not funny. Paresh Rawal's character is impotent, which is a detail that's brushed over so quickly that many probably won't even notice. Rajpal Yadav's character, who is Muslim, pretends to be Hindu for one religious joke, and we all know why that's there. At one point, Akash's elder brother refers to Vani as Pooja for no reason whatsoever. The segues to every single song and dance sequence is weird as hell, but for some reason, the movie decides to make Chura Ke Dil Mera 2.0 a diegetic number. Vani's plan was to ruin Akash's elder brother's life/marriage because he had an affair with her elder sister and he abandoned her elder sister and their child. She succeeds at doing that. Yes, that's a spoiler and I'm intentionally spoiling it so that you don't have to watch the movie. However, she ruins the life of the girl Akash was supposed to marry, who, by the way, has 2 lines in the entire movie and of course no character development क्योंकि फिर आकाश और वानी की शादी कैसे होगी? By the way, all of the aforementioned revelations happen after Akash threatens to rape Vani. While there's a kid in that room. No, Akash's rape threat isn't a fake one. Not that a fake rape threat would have made the whole seem any less offensive, but yes, Akash comes this close to raping Vani because his marriage has been ruined by her and his father's reputation, if you can call it that, has been ruined by her. And it's never questioned. And Akash and Vani even get married later on. Do I have to explain how problematic that is, or is it self-explanatory? Here's every other route this movie could have taken to be interesting. Based on that one scene where Paresh Rawal legit tries to kill Akash with a sniper gun, this could have been a Ready or Not style survival movie because every other character is trying to or threatening to kill every other character anyway. The point of view character could have been Akshay Khanna, where he's just trying to make a movie while his lead is running away to avenge her sister. The point of view character could have been Akash's fiance, who's just trying to get married while everyone is acting crazily around her. And last but not the least, the point of view character could have been the dog. At least its cuteness would have helped in digesting this movie's absurdity. Masters of the Universe Revelations Part 1 streaming on Netflix. I don't know about you, but I really liked Masters of the Universe Revelations Part 1. The biggest pull for me was the animation. The one moment that really blew me away was when Duncan comes to rescue the other characters while they are on their way to Subternia, and he uses the cannon type thing on his wrist. And the light emanating from the beams coming out of that cannon turns everything around it into black and white pixels for a brief second. It is clear that the animators did that just to sell the impact of the weapon, and I loved it. From a storytelling perspective, I like the fact that they killed the central characters of the franchise right at the beginning and spent so much time exploring the world without them. Now it is obvious that Skeletor was self-centered, but it is revealed that so was He-Man because at the end of the day, on the inside he's a teenager. That has its pros and the show explores that too in a very endearing way. So yeah, I really like the journey that Teela, Evelyn, Andra, Duncan, Roboto and Orko went on. Orko actually hit me in the feels with his philosophical monologues about loneliness and being an outcast. And yes, I will be here eagerly waiting for part 2. Mimi, streaming on Netflix. This movie is meant to be a comedy drama, and throughout its ungodly runtime, I neither laughed nor cried. Because those were the two emotions that the movie was gunning for. But you can say that that's up to my personal taste. So I should be a little more objective about my opinion. Okay, fine. I mentally checked out of this movie when it made the choice to make a mockery of a minority religion. And the mockery is limited to one joke, and that one joke is stretched till the end for no reason. Off the top of my head, I could have come up with 100 ideas to funnily conceal the pregnancy of a woman. And none of them would have involved making fun of a religion that's ridiculed on a daily basis by bigots, politicians, and the national media. However, that's not the biggest reason why I hate Mimi. No. The biggest reason why I hate Mimi is because it says pretty explicitly to a nation which is largely patriarchal in nature that a woman should set fire to her dreams and aspirations and dedicate her life towards becoming a mother. Because nothing is as rewarding as being a mom. Nothing. Yeah, at the end, there is some half assed message about opting for adoption, but that's not the focus. The focus is carrying a kid in your womb for 9 months because to hell with the ever increasing world population and then dedicating your whole life to it because to hell with aspiring to break the barriers created by this patriarchal society. अभी मेरे को पता है दैट यू गोना से दैट मैं बस ये सब ज्यादा वोक होने के लिए बोल रहा हूँ सो कमेंट्स में जाके बताओ दैट व्हाइल द फॉरेनर्स लर्न दैट एडॉप्शन इज एन ऑप्शन व्हाट इज द लेसन दैट द टिट्यूलर कैरेक्टर लर्न्स बाय द एंड ऑफ द मूवी बताओ बताओ Wrath of Man streaming on Lionsgate Play. I'm a fan of Jason Statham, Laz Alonso, Neom Halgar, Holt McCallany, Josh Hartnett, Jeffrey Donovan, Scott Eastwood, Andy Garcia, Raul Castillo, Eddie Marsan, Alex Ferns, and Rob Delaney. And I think they have done a great job in Wrath of Man. The action scenes are brutal and tensed. I legit clenched up thrice. The first one was during Statham and Neom's interrogation scene. The second one was when Huey dies, and the third one was when Holt reveals who he actually is. Chris Benstead's score is absolutely fantastic and it is still playing in my mind. All that said, I don't know what Guy Ritchie was going for. I have been a fan of his work. I thought that King Arthur was a misstep. Not his fault though, it was butchered by the studio, but I felt that he had redeemed himself with The Gentleman. However, in Wrath of Man, he's neither here nor there. I've seen many say that it doesn't have Ritchie's characteristic humor. I think that it is weird to ask for his brand of humor in a dark revenge story. That too a revenge story which is sexist because it shows the mother assuming a passive crybaby role while the father goes on this rampage of sorts. And then it all ends with this sad look on Statham's face, like he's saying, what exactly did this violence bring? So yeah, Wrath of Man is a mixed bag without a lot of highs or lows. Kingdom, Ashen of the North, streaming on Netflix. The first 10 minutes of this feature-length episode of Kingdom is just exposition and visual storytelling, and it is bloody riveting. It has been some time since I have seen the 2 seasons of Kingdom, so technically I was watching Ashen of the North as a standalone flick, and it works brilliantly. And I'm saying this to motivate those who haven't watched the 2 seasons of Kingdom to watch it. Because I know that when you say that you have to watch 2 seasons of a show to watch this Netflix special of sorts, they immediately walk away. However, if they watch this and then I tell them that, hey, do you know that there's like around 12 hours of this kind of badass zombie killing action along with some gripping storytelling sitting there on Netflix, I bet that they won't be able to resist it. And that will be a win-win for everyone. Now, I don't want to get into too much detail about the plot of the show because it's spoilery. All I can say is that while the 2 seasons of Kingdom dealt with what can happen when a fascist government prioritizes their worst kept secrets over the protection of the people, Ashen of the North delves into casteism and how people who are deemed as low-borns are often used as pawns by the self-proclaimed high-borns to save their own skin. In addition to that, it has impeccable production design, set design, costume design, sound design, VFX, special effects, score, cinematography, and of course character building. I know I'm not saying much about it, but you need to watch Kingdom, or else I won't take any opinion you have about filmmaking and storytelling seriously. This is a modern masterpiece. You all keep asking for quality stuff, right? Here it is. Watch it as soon as possible. Jolt, streaming on Amazon Prime Video. My knowledge about anxiety is cursory and based on my personal experience only. So please feel free to correct me in the comments if you have professional knowledge about the subject matter. Why am I saying this? Because in my opinion, Jolt had something to say about anxiety and how the world is gradually becoming insensitive towards it. And that each and every one of us should learn how to become a safe space for each other. But all that is just lost in the movie's stylistic flourishes, if I can even call it that. I mean, when was Jolt made? It genuinely feels like it is a product of the mid-2000s and heavily inspired by Crank. It is jarring and noisy and messy. Maybe it is intentional, maybe it is not, I don't know, and I couldn't bring myself to care about anything that I was seeing on screen. Why did I watch it then? Have you looked at the cast? It has Kate Beckinsale, Stanley Tucci, David Bradley, Laverne Cox, Bobby Cannavale, Jai Courtney, and a cameo from Susan Sarandon. All wasted. Chutzpah, streaming on Sony Live. This show has a very important message. It is incredibly important. You won't believe how important it is. Do you know what that message is? I will tell you. This show wants to say that the internet is bad. Yes. Like it is very, very, very bad. Did you know that? How? Oh, because that's what every movie, show and short film on the internet has been saying since the internet became mainstream. Right, that makes sense. हाँ तो फिर ये शो देखने का कोई मतलब नहीं है क्योंकि इंटरनेट बैड से ज्यादा इनके पास बोलने का कुछ है भी नहीं. I can give it some points for trying to do something visually interesting with its VFX, cinematography, costume design, sound design and production design. The title design is good. Acting भी सही है. And it arrives at some relevant topics like the boys' locker room, influencer culture and long distance relationships. But किसी एक को in depth explore नहीं करता है. I think that it should have dealt with one topic per season instead of cramming so many of them into one. और अगर ये डर था कि एक और सीजन मिलेगा कि नहीं तो one topic per episode कर लेते. Also at this point, especially after the pandemic, it's myopic to focus on the aforementioned topics and then say internet bad. इंटरनेट और सोशल मीडिया नहीं होता तो कितनों को ऑक्सीजन, हॉस्पिटल बेड्स और मेडिकेशन नहीं मिलती क्योंकि अपना गवर्नमेंट तो हाथ उठा लिया था. इंटरनेट ऑल्सो हैज पॉलिटिक्स, रेसिज्म, होमोफोबिया, रिलीजियस डिस्क्रिमिनेशन, कास्टिज्म एंड मोर. और उन सब पे विभिन्न तरह के लोग बात कर रहे टू हेल्प एवरीवन रीच समवेयर दैट्स प्रोडक्टिव फॉर दिस साइबर स्पेस. इफ यू कैन टच अपॉन दैट देन यू कैन एक्यूरेटली रिप्रेजेंट द इंटरनेट. नहीं तो यही अर्ली 90s टाइप का प्रोडक्ट ही बनेगा. And yes, I know why you can't do such an in-depth exploration. Government से फटती है. तो फिर फालतू का एजी भी मत बनो ना by putting a disclaimer saying please don't get offended, it is just a damn fictional show. The Last Letter from Your Lover, streaming on Netflix. Straight white people romance for over 120 minutes in beautifully designed sets and locations. Oh, and there's a token brown guy thrown in the mix to not make things look too racist. That's what this is. Whenever I come across movies like The Last Letter from Your Lover, I feel that it is just laughing at all the squeezed romances that won't see the light of the day because homophobic producers don't want to greenlight them and are willing to throw all the money they have at this vanilla shit. So yes, if straight white boring romance is your thing, then please go ahead and watch this movie with an unnecessarily long title. Blood Red Sky, streaming on Netflix. Good premise, good acting, good stunt work, good special effects, good visual effects, but it failed to have an impact on me due to the basic storytelling. I liked how the villains figured out what to do since there's a vampire on the plane they have just hijacked. However, it became very predictable after that. And there's nothing at stake. I know that the kid I'm supposed to root for makes it out alive. So what should I be afraid of? What this film needed is some fractured storytelling, which it does, I won't deny that, but it is done poorly. There are 3 timelines that the movie deals with: the Genesis, the hijack and the extraction. Now what the movie does is that it shows part of the end and then goes back to the beginning and reveals everything pretty linearly. Instead, I feel that it should have intercut between these timelines more randomly and more frequently to create lots of breathing space between its 3 big revelations. That is, the boy's survival, everyone's a vampire, and the explosion. That would have allowed the movie to explore the curse of the vampire virus, the burden that the mother bears, and created some intrigue about what's at stake here. I know I shouldn't talk about what I want from a movie and I should talk about what's in the movie. Well, I've done that for the past 5 years and I'm talking about how I would have structured a movie for the first time in a long time. So give me a break. The Last Mercenary, streaming on Netflix. I loved it. I unequivocally loved The Last Mercenary, and I highly recommend it. I know that it seems like I'm undermining the craft that has gone into the movie by not saying too much about it, but I genuinely don't have anything to add. The Last Mercenary is a great movie. It is a great Jean-Claude Van Damme movie. It's a great action comedy, and it is one of my favorite movies of the year. I laughed a lot while watching it, and I think that you will enjoy it too if you have even a drop of sense of humor. And that's the list. If you made it till here, please do like and share this video. Subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments what you thought about the movies and shows in this list. Or if you want to recommend something to me, tell it. वो सब के बाद you can click on any other video that YouTube is recommending or mind your own business. Free country है अभी भी. But if you are in the mood to stick around, please do so because I have a little message for everyone. Between The Family Man, Hasin Dilruba, 14 Fere and Mimi, I have seen this weird trend amongst Indian critics and audiences to not call out stuff like bigotry, sexism, casteism and classism. And this is mostly directed towards North India because I have seen that South India is aware of the aforementioned elements. They don't hold back while showcasing them on screen, and viewers and critics are not afraid of applauding it when representation is done right and critiquing it when it goes sideways. But when it comes to North India, the reaction and level of reviewing that I've seen always makes me seem that I have watched some other cut of the movie or show. For example, The Family Man Season 2 was clearly bigoted, sexist and casteist. I did call it out in my review. There was one Twitter thread that did the same. And a few weeks later, Suchitra Vijayan did a very accurate and very much needed breakdown of everything that's wrong with the show. Hasin Dilruba's genesis and execution was very problematic and promoted very weird notions of love. Initially, there wasn't a lot of discussion around it. A little happened after Taapsee Pannu launched an attack on critics and some people spoke up. 14 Fere is clearly casteist and backs a lot of patriarchal concepts. I have not come across anything that even attempts to take it down. Then there's Mimi, which wears its bigotry, religious discrimination and sexism on its sleeve. And the reaction to that has been twofold. Once the usual, it's like nobody has even noticed. The second is hating those who are pointing out the problems. Now, based on my cursory research and myopic observational skills, the reasons why all this is happening is because the people who are driving the discourse come from a place of privilege, ignorance and utter insensitivity. मतलब privileged है इसलिए ignorant और insensitive है. और इसीलिए they can say that hey, it's meant to be fiction, so don't take it so seriously. Or hey, it's meant to be entertaining, so don't take it so seriously. Or hey, you are being too woke, try to relax. Or hey, movies and shows have no impact on real life, so enjoy and let others enjoy. Really? So why do you have that poster of your favorite actor or actress in your living room? Why do you tag celebs or slide into the DMs because you think they are the same as the characters they play? Why do you copy your favorite actors' mannerisms or reiterate their lines in real life scenarios? Why are politicians recruiting stars to campaign for them? Why? Do tell. I can go on and on. So stop with that same old bullshit and accept the truth. You're afraid to call out problematic elements in a movie or your show because it will hamper the enjoyment you are deriving from them. And your generational privilege has put you in a place where you can go about your life without facing discrimination of one kind or the other or the kind that the film or series is promoting. Right? Right? It was cool to pick on movies from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s and the 2000s because the obvious sexism was so obvious. फिर उस पे जब casteism, classism and religious discrimination का layer चढ़ गया, which was sometimes subtle and sometimes very obvious, आप लोगों ने हाथ उठा लिया and started saying shit like, please watch it through the lens of its intended audience. इसका मतलब क्या है जरा बताइए? If the intended audience is casteist, classist or bigoted, and if the subject matter is casteist, classist or bigoted, then it is done right by its audience and its subject matter. And if I call it out for being casteist, classist or bigoted, I am being woke, unrealistic or pseudo-intellectual. किधर है logic? Just say that you are casteist, classist and bigoted and you don't care about the people who will most definitely be affected because of the discriminatory shit that your favorite movie or show is normalizing. At least that will help me ignore you. I know that's kind of selfish, but क्या करूँ यार? दुनिया तो बदल नहीं सकता मैं. कम से कम अपने सर्कल्स को तो ठीक कर देता हूँ और उनको आगाह कर देता हूँ जिनके सर्कल्स में आप एग्जिस्ट करते हो. आई एम श्योर उससे कुछ तो भला होगा सोसाइटी का. That said, if you feel that you cannot be as casteist and classist externally as you are internally, then stop normalizing bigoted things that are releasing on mainstream and even non-mainstream media. It is that easy. If you can educate yourselves about caste and class, great. Do it. Read about it, listen to podcasts on it, watch videos on it. If you're not that driven, follow anti-caste activists and those who call out class-based or religion-based discrimination or any kind of discrimination on social media. और जब तक ये सब नहीं कर पा रहे हो, प्लीज डोंट रिव्यू स्टफ दैट प्रोमोट्स प्रॉब्लमैटिक शिट बिकॉज यू विल एंड अप प्रोमोटिंग इट इवन मोर. बस यही बोलना था तो बोल दिया. एंड आई एम टायर्ड. So I bid you all goodbye with the hope that you will stay healthy and stay safe.